Welcome to WynEden. I'm Guymon. I'm the head gardener here and actually the owner, but the owner part is insignificant compared to the effort of gardening it. I love it though. It's my passion. I'm totally obsessed. I actually have a blog of my own called The Obsessed Gardener. And I've been at this location since 1998. Full-time since 2004 when I took early retirement, specifically so I could create this garden. The garden is a bowl garden, as in there's hills on both sides of it and a pond right in the middle of it that is the bottom of the bowl. I use the Japanese notion of stolen views at both ends of the garden. One end there's a reproduction of a Pennsylvania covered bridge that my neighbor furnished for me, and at the other end we look downstream into the wild of the woods. And that kind of ties the garden together. It's a wild garden. I like to work hand in fist with nature to make this garden what it is. I feel like there should be no bare soil anywhere. Except when I go and visit somebody else's garden and it's beautiful because every plant has its place, and then I think, maybe I should try that. But I come back and I realize that my gardening style is to let the plants do what they want, and then I intervene to edit them and make sure they're spread around in a nice pattern. And I like plants that are aggressive. I like plants that are weavers. I like tall plants. At this moment, in this time of year, I have plants that are almost 12 feet high. I have phlox blooming that's 10 feet high right now, probably a record for phlox. Not for your ordinary gardener, but it's a shade garden, specialized probably in hostas, and that's what most people remember me for, because I have a hillside of 10,000 hostas. I tell everybody that the reason it's 10,000 hostas is not because there's literally 10,000 there. It's like when I went to the cave of the 10,000 Buddhas in Cambodia. And believe me, there are not 10,000 Buddhas in that cave. So I learned that 10,000 is a number that means a whole lot. And I have a whole lot of hostas on the hillside, and they're in a nice river pattern that flows down the hillside, based on Roberto Burle Marx's idea of planting mass plantings of the same kind of foliage. And I think you'll find that feature rather interesting, I hope, when you get here. It has 5 ponds. Most of them are vernal, but there are 2 that are persistent all year long. The vernal ones are full generally all but about a month and a half each year. I have started a new, totally wild garden on the far side of the bamboo, which is about a third of the property. It's 10 acres altogether, so it's about 3.5 acres over there. And it's got an old riverbed that I've dug out, and I've found that the water table fills that riverbed up, and I have a cascading series of pools there, a bog garden, and no grass. And I think that's the feature I like the most about it. We have no grass. We probably have too many weeds, but you know, weeds have their place in the garden, and I've learned to live with the weeds. We'll move them out slowly by planting plants that I want to grow there. And that's part of the reason I like aggressive things like astilbes and ferns to grow in my shade garden. I have probably 25 different Japanese maples on the property, so it gets really pretty spectacular towards the end of October in terms of color. But I have, besides the 10,000 hostas on the hillside, the biggest thing you'll find in the garden are azaleas and rhododendrons. And I have almost literally 10,000 of those growing in the garden at this point. Some of them were moved in fairly mature. Others were grown from 1-inch pots, and really quite excited by how much variety there is here in terms of the hostas. Some of them are really, really rare. The fellow I get them from does seed exchange with the Rhododendron Society, so he gets crosses that have never existed, and they give the seeds out. You know, one day somebody will come through here and say, "Oh, that looks like my cross of such and such," and I'll say, "Oh, what was the number?" And he'll say, "Da da da da," and I'll say, "You know what? You're right," and it'll be a good day for both of us, I think. What else can I tell you about it? My first garden book was the All Seasons Gardener, All Seasons Garden, and so I have always tried to have something in bloom at every point of the year, and I've succeeded. I am now on the path of I would like masses of bloom all through the year. That's going to take me the next 25 years, I think. I do have a rolling 20-year plan. When I turned 75, I thought, you know, I shouldn't tell people that. They'll laugh at me. So I lied and said it was 10 years for a while, but I'm back to it's at least 20, if not 25. And every year I replace it with another year of projects and stuff that I'm going to get to. I used to think I would have a good garden one day, and I hired a guy 2 years ago, works full-time for me, and I'm at a point now where I actually believe I have a garden. I didn't believe that. Strange as that may seem, I was just always a little embarrassed by how I couldn't get to everything, but still can't get to everything, but I'm a lot more comfortable with not doing it than I used to be. Maybe that's just old age, I don't know. But I love the garden. That's my obsession, and one of the first things I learned about gardening when I came here is something David told me. And David, whose garden you've just been to, some of you, said with his arms open, "Wayne, of course you can visit my garden. Gardens are made for sharing." And I love that quote, and that's how I feel about my garden. So welcome, and one last word. After you've been to my garden, you have a free lifetime pass to return to this garden at any time. I don't even have to be here. Only catch is that's my lifetime, not yours. Great to have you. Thanks.